Good evening, Council. Jason Moore, 2716 Bainbridge. Inadvertently gave my extra copy of some of the stuff I passed out to you tonight to, I guess, the mayor. So Mayor meant to. There's a few items I need to reference here, and I want to make sure that I get them in order. I'm concerned in looking back over our discussion 2 weeks ago about some of the things that were presented to the public regarding this program. And the more I dig into this program, the more I want to make sure that when you guys vote tonight, that you understand from this point forward, you're going to own whatever problems come from this program. I don't know how many of you, and there's a banker, aren't you in banking, Mr. Bryant?
Yes, sir.
And a CPA. Excuse me. And I'm concerned as I went through the financials that I just finally got from the city regarding the Parks Donation Program. And I'll get to those in just a second. But as I look back, I don't see any evidence in the public information request that I received that said that the banker and the CPA on the council requested detailed financial information regarding the goings-on of the Parks Foundation. Now, that bothers me that we're going to renew a program into perpetuity tonight. And we argued about when does 5 years mean 5 years, et cetera, last week. In the amendment language that you're considering tonight, you're now removing any reference to 5 years in the ordinance. So as I look back and see there's been virtually no oversight, as evidenced by some of the documents I gave you tonight, and more that I can produce, it bothers me that we're going to now remove any impediment, any milestone in the future that this council would be required to go back and visit and say, are we doing what we promised we would do with this money? Are we being the fiduciary responsible people that we have entrusted to us to carry out these duties and make sure that this money is performing as it should? I requested financial documents and other documents pertaining to the issues of the contract and the ordinance. Long after the deadline to produce the documents, I finally got them. In fact, it was noted 2 weeks ago that if the city has them, I can have them. Well, they weren't included in my original request. Then I get the documents, the financials from the Parks Foundation. There's 09 and 10, 11 and 12. This program started July of 07. There's no financials for 7 or 8. And in that,
Mr. Moore, your 3 minutes are up.
okay, I would request that the mayor, as a presiding officer, and I'm doing this under section 1-4-43, that doesn't place any time limits on speakers on agenda items.
But if the council agrees, it's set. But go ahead and leave 2 more minutes.
Okay. So when I asked for clarification on items not included in the public information request and said, is it my understanding, since this is not in the request, that these things were never performed by the city nor the foundation? And the response I got back, which I consider to be a little bit smart alecky, was what conclusions you draw from the documents produced by the city can't direct. All I'm trying to get to is the money being spent as everyone says it's being spent? If you look at I've included pages from the Parks Foundation, their own supposedly audited financial statements. Out of 4 years, only one number matches up with the spreadsheet from the city of Odessa of what the city sent to them. On this page where I highlight in yellow these are all of the quarterly payments when they should have been made, as according to the ordinance and the contract. About half of them were made at the scheduled time. Even more disturbing is this whole program is supposed to be at what the city gets in the dollar donation program they send to the Parks Foundation, half of the payments resulted in a deficit situation. This is by the city's own records. How is it that we're sending money to the Parks Foundation that we didn't collect? This is from the city's own records. So someone's going to have to explain to me and the public how we legitimately can say that we're exercising the oversight duties of the city council in governing and sending off millions of dollars to a private nonprofit corporation that I, as a citizen and a taxpayer, don't have the right to look into their books and say, where was this money spent? No one's answered the questions on what happened to Mrs.
Mr. Moore, your
Hempel's
2 minutes are up.
$50,000.
What is that?
That is a graph of the trend line of the donations to the Parks program, the money sent to the foundation, and the, let's see, that one is and the deficits, I'm sorry, the write-offs each month.
Okay.
So,
Questions for Mr. Graff?
I have a statement I'd like to say. For one thing, what the ordinance provides for is the money to be sent to the Parks Foundation, but they can only do two things with it. They can either improve the parks with it, or they can return the money to us for us to improve the parks.
mhm.
And that's basically all that is provided for.
That's all that's provided for where?
In the ordinance. Now,
That is not true.
if we go to the contract, and a lot of the things that you maybe were wanting to see in the ordinance should be in the contract.
The
And,
contract is almost a duplication of the ordinance.
well, no, it isn't.
For instance, G, a revenue and expense line item shall be created to identify revenues and expenses attributable to the utility bill donation program.
Well, no, it provides that there's going to be a report that is going to be with every issuance of permission to spend money on city parks. They are going to now give a report to us about what the current balance and the current state of the foundation is in regard to these funds. In addition, they're going to, at the end of their budget year, within 45 days, that they will report to us the exact balance and the very type of information, the financial information that you're seeking.
So you're telling me that all expenditure of the funds generated by this program must be authorized by the city council? Has been done?
No, I'm saying that is what is in the current contract, and it's been beefed up and to explain
No, that's in the original ordinance.
I know, but this is the contract from the new ordinance. In addition to those provisions, and in addition to the annual report
Okay.
that is required, and in addition, there's the audit that is now required.
So you're telling me that these things that I'm reading from the ordinance aren't relevant?
No, what you're reading from the ordinance is relevant as far as what was in place for the original program, for the original time, but now there is a new ordinance that's being passed with a new contract.
Well, that's not true. It's being amended. Because
Or-
last night, you can't
The
have an
ordinance is-
ordinance because
the
you said
ordinance
we
is
can't. You said the ordinance is in effect and it is valid and in effect. That's what you said 2 weeks ago.
You have to pass an ordinance to amend it.
You already have an ordinance.
That's true, we're amending that ordinance.
You just said we're having a new ordinance. I feel
No.
like this is Abbott and Costello. The problem is that I can go through here and lay down piece after piece of information that it's clear that this program is a mess. And it is clear, I could start quizzing every member of the city council right now, and I can guarantee you, they're not going to know the answers.
Well, Jason, let me tell you something, just to kind of cut to the chase on this. If there is any misdealing or misuse of funds, no one would be more interested in it than the city council, the city manager, or myself.
And then
So
who's looking into
if
it?
you will provide that information to us, then we will look into it.
I-
I've never seen this information you're talking about.
Which information?
Anything that you've held up, I've never.
So you don't know that in 2007, for instance, the Parks Foundation was, had a letter sent from the Secretary of State saying they're gonna have to close the Parks Foundation because they didn't do the reported filings? They ended up making the filings eventually, but they had to get at least 2 to 3 letters from the Secretary of State, which I provided in your papers, that said they didn't file the required reports. These things, the things that I'm finding, each one by themselves, is it a big deal? Maybe, maybe not, depends on the item we're talking about. But the totality of all of them together, any person running a business would be shocked and stunned and say, this is out of control. It tells me that someone's not minding the store, that we're just cashing checks. And someone's gonna have to explain to the taxpayers how you're sending money to the Parks Foundation that you don't have. This is from the city's report, not mine.
Can I get that copy back? Your copy?
Yes, it's really your copy.
Okay.
So, you know, when I see emails now from the city manager directing the city council what to say to the media before the city council's known what the real deal is, that bothers me.
That's not correct.
I have the email right here.
You may have the email, but you may be misreading it. I do not tell my bosses what to say.
Well, I can quote it.
Go ahead.
You may get a call from John Vanderlyn, a reporter from the OA. He is questioning the dollar donation program and the Parks Foundation. He has evidently hastily read the contract and ordinance and jumped to the wrong conclusion. If you get a call from him, you may simply defer to the legal department or say, quote, the program is currently operating under a valid ordinance and contract as per your legal department, unquote. We are currently preparing a response to the Jason Moore FOIA request and will be able to provide you with the necessary information to adequately respond to any reporter on the topic if you so choose to respond. We should have the information for you tomorrow. So you've told them what to say
Again,
before you give them the information.
I've not told them what to say. I've given them
You
options.
may say, quote,
Yeah, you may. If you
Okay.
want to respond.
but the essence of the email is that you'll provide the information later.
That's my job, is to provide them information, sir.
But you're telling them they can say now this.
I'm not telling them what they can say. I'm giving them options.
Okay, now we'll move on to the item that's on the floor, which is, thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Second reading. Do we have a motion? Have a motion? Second. Second. Any discussion?
Yes, I would like to, again, just like last week, this, more and more that I see into this, it's clear to me that there are several things that this ordinance has to be reevaluated, and it is my understanding that Barbara had agreed, and also Councilmember McNeil, that if it's broke, it needs to be fixed, I believe was. And, you know, as Richard said, you know, we're not trying to hide anything, we're trying to be as transparent as we can, so I think that I would motion to table, to try to reevaluate this.
We have a motion or a motion that, we have Larry?
Yeah, there's already a motion on the floor. You need to vote on that one first.
No, that's not.
Okay.
Motion to supersede.
Rescind the motion. That was it.
We can't.
Whoever
We've
made
got a
the
motion,
motion.
so we can talk. We don't have to
Talk.
vote, okay?
Make a motion.
My feeling is, as Larry has said, improving the contract with the foundation. And you can't improve the contract with the foundation if we don't vote on this, okay? I would like to see the contract improved. Many times with companies, we need to improve contracts, and I have done that I think we need to
But on
improve
the
this.
ordinance that we're trying, that we will, such a mess. The ordinance that we were trying to amend had the 5-year thing, and now the new one is gonna be forever. And I don't think, I don't agree with that. So, that's what I don't understand, is if we're having to vote on something that, I'm confused, if you can enlighten me, Larry.
Yes, I can. The 5-year was initially placed as a sunset provision, which is very atypical of what the councils usually do. And I think even by the ones that initially put it on there, that there would be a reassessment after the 5-year period and a decision either go on with the program or to not, but that it would not just perpetually be continued under 5-year programs. I mean, it's very unusual to have the 5 years to start with, but we're doing the consideration right now. So I had removed that because I did not understand that to be the council's desire to just continue to do a 5-year program.
Dean, do you want to do
It would-
5 year again, or?
It would be feasible to go back and look at the program as far as, because we, beyond the 5 years. But, if it needs fixing, then we need to fix it. And, of course, this council, a part of this council wasn't present during that time.
Larry, is it true that this contract that we have with the Parks Foundation can be terminated?
Yes.
And what happens upon the termination of the program? Should either this council or a council in the future opt to do so?
The money would be returned to the city.
And what would it take for the council to terminate this contract in the future?
To vote to terminate the contract.
There
Provide
would-
notice to the,
In 30 days, that could happen, 60 days, 90 days?
I've forgotten exactly what the provisions on the deal were. I thought it was 60 days.
But we're not, this is not a contract into perpetuity that's going to be here
No,
5,000
contract.
years from
The
now.
contract is-
Should, no matter what the council wants to do, this contract will not necessarily live on. If a council in the future opts to do something else, it will be within its right to do so. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So therefore, it's not in perpetuity. Is that
No.
correct?
And similarly, the foundation itself could terminate the contract and simply return the money to the city that they have improperly expended.
Mhm. And I believe also on the hemp hills that the initial contribution from the hemp hills, that they asked for some of that money to be returned, which was done. And that the remaining money is going to be coupled with additional contributions to do something in the future is what I have heard.
That's my understanding from
Okay.
Steve.
All right.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Let me mention something. Sandra, Ms. Crosco, would you like it better if I more clearly delineated in the ordinance that what I have just told Dean about the contract? In other words, the program can exist independent of the Parks Foundation.
Yes.
And that would be a very easy amendment to make, if that would make you feel more comfortable with everything.
Don't we have an out clause in there?
Sure.
I mean, most contracts you have an out clause,
No,
30 or 60-day out
No,
clause.
we absolutely do. The contract, and the contract is coming up right after this. And yes, we can get out of the contract. But if that needs to be mentioned more specifically and definitely in order to, have people looking in realize that, well, that's fine too. I mean, we can do that relatively easy.
Oh, I look at an ordinance as, we make an ordinance, and any time in the future, any council can go in and do away with that ordinance if they find that it's not working. Am I correct or not?
That's generally true, yes.
And so when we vote on these ordinances, we don't ever put a time limit on it, because it's just understood by everybody that anytime it needs to go by the wayside, council can do that.
The only thing, that keeps bothering me is that, all these things that Mr. Moore, thank you for providing this for us. I'd just rather terminate it than have to, it's not working. Yeah, like you said, to me, it's not working. I'm seeing these negatives on here but that's just my opinion.
Well,
But anyway.
The accountability, I think, is one of the questions that we have.
Well, I think it's important to note there's really two items here. One is the program for the collection of the money for the parks. Okay. The second is the transfer of that money to the foundation for them to use. You don't have to terminate the program to collect the money in order to terminate the services with the foundation.
But the rest of the council would like, this is why I'm thinking that we need to talk about it, hear from everybody, if we continue to do this, that they will give us a quarterly report versus a year. See more transparency, for the folks to know that, what, we are interested in what's going on. But of course, that's just.
well, I agree with you, and I want that, and I've talked some with Larry too about wanting those reports, and I want the foundation members to come in person and report to us. There are a lot of things that I would like to see, and that has to be in a new contract. But the way I feel, the $1, I think it's a fabulous idea, a fabulous program. Your parks have benefited, my parks have benefited, the children in our community have benefited because of it. I don't want to throw the baby away with the bathwater, okay? There's always, in anything I do, I go back and I can see where we can make improvements, make things better. And I think we need to make some improvements and make things better with this. But I think the dollar collection is tremendous. And I would ask Jason or anybody out there, if you've got a better idea, tell us. As I said 2 weeks ago, I don't have a lot of money where I can set up a really nice park facility in my area. But I can pay $1 a month along with everybody else, and we can have really nice parks in our community. And therefore, we're all chipping in and helping, and we're all together working to build our community. And like I say, in the contract that we would be working up next, I would like to see a lot of different things in that contract. But my understanding, what we're voting on tonight, is the dollar collection.
This is the ordinance.
And if we don't vote on this ordinance of collecting the dollar, then we really have very little for our parks.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we need more discussion?
Did that answer it?
Previous question.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Okay.
Motion carries. Now we move on to considering the amendment, pool operations contract with COA, Mr. Pat.
This particular item addresses the contract that we currently have with the COM Aquatics, and COM Aquatics operates the family aquatic centers and floating swimming pool. The current contract that they have has an attachment, and that attachment has the old rates and the new rate structure that has been proposed, that just passed. This would attach the new rate structure to their existing agreement that we have. There would be no changes in the agreement, simply a house cleaning item, and we would attach the new rate structure to their contract.
Okay, any questions?
And for children that cannot afford that, you do have an alternative for them, right?
That's correct. We're working with people at Desperate, and we're going to post a site where whoever can show up, and we will give them about an hour or two of picking up trash. We'll give them a week's pass to the swimming pools.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
So,
Motion and a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
I,
All opposed? Motion carries. Next, we move on to consider the approval of the agreement between Odessa Active Parks Foundation and the City of Odessa. Mr. Pat.
What's next? Jack and the White's going through. On this is a resolution that would approve, I guess, the process right now of us going through an amended process of getting a new contract in place with the Odessa Parks Foundation. The resolution itself, I guess, would make way for that agreement to, I guess, start the negotiations there. You might help me clarify where you are with this.
I talked to Mr. Barron today, and we are, I guess, negotiating what the terms and conditions would be. I have the terms and conditions that I would like to see for the city of Odessa, and he hasn't expressed opposition to that. It's just that he did indicate that he might like some time to review prior to that, so. I really don't think this is in shape to be voted on right now. So I would suggest that it be tabled.
Okay. Do we have a
So much.
so moved.
Table.
so moved? We have a second, Barbara.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the table? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Warren,
On 7.
on 7.
Actually, I had a chance to speak before you guys take a vote. The reason I want to speak on number 7 is I guess someone needs to enlighten me. And Barbara, you mentioned if people have a better idea, then you're glad to hear it. My question is, if there's another foundation out there that's willing to give the city more bang for their buck for that dollar donation program, how does another foundation compete to be written into an ordinance? How does another foundation compete to say, I can give you more playgrounds for the same amount of dollars that you're getting from Odessa Parks
Are you
Foundation?
making that offer? I'll take you up on it.
I'm asking what's the process?
No, I'm asking, are you wanting to make that offer?
If I know what the process is,
I don't know, but we'll find out. Put your money where your mouth is.
I'd be glad to do that, but there is no mechanism to do that. That's the problem, Ms. Graff.
I think, Jason, the reason for that is there's a very limited number of people that is willing to do what the Parks Foundation is willing to do, and that is it's all volunteer. There's no money,
Sir,
there's no
they're
salary,
getting
there's no.
over $1 million from taxpayers.
The
I think a lot of people,
The foundation, no one is.
the foundation is, right.
When you're talking about bang for the buck, these people are working for free.
What people are?
The people
The
that.
volunteers.
The volunteers and the members
As
of
a
the
committee
foundation.
for the foundation.
But they're still handling over $1 million of money.
But they're handling it for free. I mean, they're
Okay.
doing this,
Okay, I'm saying, if there's another foundation that would like to make an offer to do the same thing the Odessa Parks Foundation is, what would be the process?
That foundation needs to come forward to the city council with a proposal.
Okay, so just present it at any city council meeting? Do I
But it
need?
has to be on the agenda and everything else, just like everything normal, but it has to
Okay,
be.
and that's what I'm asking.
Foundation
Who do I go to
well,
start
Jason,
that process?
you're gonna have 2 weeks before it goes back on again. If you are aware of somebody.
So what you're saying is the city has a locked-in deal with one foundation, that's all the city wants to hear from?
No,
That's not what we're saying.
no.
What we're saying is it's
But
gonna be
the city
difficult to
only
find
puts out for-
someone that'll do something for free. I mean, it's hard to beat free.
Sir, they're getting over $1 million of money.
The
They're
foundation
handling
is getting over $1 million. You keep saying it's.
How do you know they're doing it for free?
They don't charge anything, they're all
How do you
volunteer,
know
they
that?
have no paid.
So you guys have seen the internals of the Odessa Active Parks
Is
Foundation.
there any expenses on this thing that says salaries on that audit? You're the one who looked through it. I'm just asking.
I brought the wrong page relative to that matchup with the city stuff.
Yeah, I don't think under.
Wait, aren't you on the finance committee?
Excuse me, I'm asking a question here.
Aren't you on the
I believe
finance
that under
committee?
the Odessa Parks Foundation here, under expenses, Mr. CPA, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't see anything here that says salaries, is there?
Doesn't appear to be any.
Mhm. But the numbers also don't match up with what the city reported as giving to, what, it does not match
Mr.
up.
Moore,
with-
your 3 minutes are up.
Okay, they were asking questions though. What I'm saying is that there's no mechanism for another person to bring a better idea.
There is. I'm going to give you that mechanism right now. If you've got an idea, you get it written up, you present it to Richard Morton. He will pass it out to the council, and it will be on the agenda, and we will look at it.
Okay.
So I have 2 weeks to do that?
That's fine.
If
You're saying I have 2 weeks to do that?
yeah, if you want longer than 2 weeks,
Is that the normal
I'll
bid
give you longer
process?
than 2 weeks.
This is not a bid, Jason. The reality is, this Parks Foundation existed to do good things for this community.
Mhm.
It was a good relationship to work with this Parks Foundation and the city of Odessa in this utility donation,
Mhm.
okay? It has generated funds to develop several parks. I believe every dollar that's been collected can be either touched in a playground or touched in the bank, okay? If you want to provide an alternate, I think you just heard the city council say they would be more than happy to entertain it.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Now we move on to miscellaneous, the Historic Preservation Commission. Kathleen,
Fuller to be reappointed.
okay.
So
Do we have a motion? Second.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
I move we go into executive session, item number 9.
Okay. We are now in executive session.